Before the 2022 season, Mercedes were seen as titans in the sport of Formula One, as they have dominated their competition for almost a decade before the 2022 season came around. After staggering through a horrendous season in 2022 by their standards, the Brackley-based team will be looking to regain their championship form with their newly unveiled W14. And not only that, seven-time world champion Lewis Hamilton is inching ever closer to signing a contract extension with Mercedes. All that and more, so stick around to get the lowdown on each one of them. After a long and cold winter break, Mercedes unveiled their W14 this past Wednesday, where they showcased their 2023 Challenger sporting an all-black color scheme they used back in 2020 and 2021. After his first glimpse of the car, Hamilton voiced his optimism that it could lead Mercedes back to the front of the F1 grid. This comes after a difficult 2022 campaign, to say the least, which brought an end to their long run of winning titles. The season only produced one pole position and race win, both of which were claimed by Hamilton's teammate George Russell. This left the 38-year-old without a single victory in a season for the first time in his entire F1 career. Speaking at the W14's launch, Hamilton said, "I have been a part of this team for over a decade, and the efforts of everyone never cease to amaze me. I find it inspiring how diligently and passionately each person approaches their work. To see the evolution of the car and the changes that have been made is fascinating. We've redesigned, optimized, and innovated so many parts of the car, and that is impressive. And I love the new livery. It says, 'We mean business.'" As for how he's feeling after the winter break, Hamilton added, "I'm excited to go racing again. I feel calm, energized, and have my focus sharpened. I'm ready to do what's necessary to win." When the 2022 season came to a close, many of us expected to see Mercedes ditch their slim side pods for the 2023 season. But much to everyone's surprise, that wouldn't be the case, as the team would stick to their guns and still sport the same design on their W14. Another surprising fact is that most of you guys who watch our videos aren't subscribed. So why do you say we change that now and you consider subscribing to the channel, huh? Now, back to the W14. The new W14 car keeps many unique features from its predecessor, including the slender vertical openings for the radiators, the exposed floor's large area, and the upper sys bar, or side impact bar, that redirects the airflow downwards onto the top of the side pods. However, the lower side pod profiles have been streamlined, bulging outwards towards the front and lengthening towards the back. Instead of blending in with the engine cover, the side pods are now divided by a high cooling cannon that channels the expelled air from the radiators out of the back beside the exhaust pipes. This modification has reduced the need for large cooling louvers on top of the side pods, although it's possible they could add them for hotter races if necessary. Technical director Mike Elliott admitted, "Last year, there were times when we were questioning ourselves and asking, have we made a major mistake? Do we need to change what we are fundamentally doing? But if you tear it all up and start again, you're going to start further back than where you are. It's better to take the car you've got and build on it." Although we had a lot of problems with the car last year, there was also a lot of goodness in the car. There were things it did well. You have to be careful not to throw those things away by starting again. Team boss Toto Wolff would back up Elliott's statements and say, "We have analyzed it back and forth, and as you can see, the side pods are still very different to any other car. We believe this is not a performance relative part. Obviously, there is no such thing as a holy cow. We are looking at everything. These are the first iteration of the side pods, and after a few races, they will probably change a little. But as Mike says, if you change a concept, you can end up going 3 steps backwards to take 2 forwards. I love the fact that we stayed bold and continued to follow what the science says for us. Mercedes is the only team on the grid who has decided not to follow the lead of most teams, including Red Bull and Ferrari, by adopting the classic bodywork geometry. Instead, they've evolved their initial response to the ground effect regulations with a new aerodynamic design, likely requiring an evolved underfloor design as well. While the bodywork is relatively unchanged, there are significant mechanical changes aimed at getting the team out of the hole they found themselves in with last year's car. The launch of the car didn't reveal the most significant mechanical change, a brand new pull rod rear suspension that was only seen during the shakedown at Silverstone. The team's goal was to increase the car's suspension travel range to avoid relying on overly rigid settings to stabilize the aero platform, which contributed to the bouncing issue. If Mercedes' assessment is correct and last year's aerodynamic problems were mechanical, then this new design should unlock the full potential of their unique aerodynamic concept. But with all the potential that most analysts and fans see in the team's concept, Mike Elliott would manage everyone's expectations and say, "I think when you look at where we were last year, I think we made some progress towards the end of the season, but we knew it was going to be a big winter," he said. "We knew we had to dig deep. I think it's been amazing to watch the efforts, both in Brackley and Brixworth, that's gone into this car. A huge amount of hours, huge amount of intellectual thought to try and get the design that we've got. Let's hope it's a good one." As mentioned earlier, the team has brought back their all-black color scheme, which Toto would reveal was done as a weight-saving measure. When you look at the story where the silver arrows came from, the Mercedes was white, overweight. A little bit of our story last year, he said. We came back, tried to get the weight off the car, and therefore, from the paint side, we gained the grams, and it's black. We had a black car 2 years ago, and it just came together, and it's wonderful. In a perfect world where we get everything we want, I'm sure most fans would not mind seeing a three-way battle for the title, and say that we did. That would mean Mercedes drivers Lewis Hamilton and George Russell won't be as cordial as they were during their 2022 campaign. Last season was the first time Lewis was not able to win a single race all season, and on the flip side, the 2022 season was the season George Russell realized his dream of winning a Formula One Grand Prix. So the dynamic between the two will be something to keep an eye on, especially if the team is back in the hunt for the title. Lewis and I, it worked because we know we're moving the team forward together rather than against each other, Russell told Automotor und Sport. If there were problems with driver pairings in the past, it was perhaps also because the age difference was smaller, and there was a fight for supremacy in the team. We don't have that. If the good relationship with Lewis were to break down, it wouldn't do the team any good and hurt ourselves over time. Russell eventually finished the season ahead of Lewis in the drivers' standings, albeit not winning the title itself. For me, this victory in Brazil was more important than the points classification, he said. At the end of the day, nobody remembers that I beat Lewis on points. I only finished 4th, so no man's land. If someone had offered me a win, a pole position, and 8 podiums a year ago, I would have said, no, thank you. My aspirations and those of the team are much higher than what we have achieved. Speaking of Lewis, Toto has also recently given an update regarding Lewis's seemingly imminent contract extension. Autosport asked Toto Wolff on Wednesday about the progress of contract talks following the launch of Mercedes' 2023 F1 car. Wolff responded that while they had initially discussed the matter, there was no urgency to finalize anything at this time. We've done a few of these contracts in the past, and they change little from iteration to iteration. So it's not usually complex, apart from the obvious terms, said Wolff. We've had a first chat, but I don't want to commit to any timeline, because it's not important for him, nor for us at that stage. It runs a full year, and we're going to find the right time. So, do you think the W14 will be a worthy competitor against Red Bull and Ferrari? Let me know what you think in the comments section. And don't forget to smash that subscribe button before you head on out.